Evening, everyone. How is everyone? We've got a complete and utter legend, global legend, in the world of sex tech and business. Coming in now. Hiya. So just waiting for the legend of Cindy Gallop to join, and then let me find her. There she is. Hang on one second. Here she comes. She's a to be honest, I might as well keep my mouth shut for an hour, and she'll just, go for it. There she is.
Hi Emma, how are you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
Good, thank you.
You're not on your roof terrace?
No, it's actually raining here in New York at the moment. It's all grey and thundery and horrible. So no, I'm indoors.
But do you know what? It's just hit here as well. It's been too hot. It's been literally, I'm wearing a top. That's it. No one needs to see what's going on down there. It's been like 33 degrees and literally I'm the sweatiest person ever. But anyway, I was just saying we were being joined tonight by an absolute global trail-blazing hero, as far as I'm concerned, in the world of just sex tech and just a voice for women across all business. So from funding to voices to having an opinion to just, ignoring the bossy title and that's assertive and you're allowed to be just everything. But we're on Killing Kittens, so it's sex related, because you've got a CV that's just huge on every level. So the site, it's Make Love Not Porn. 2009 was founded, wasn't it?
Yep.
I'll let you correct me in a minute and talk. To address the conversation around sex, and it's a social platform where it's real sex, isn't it?
Real world sex.
Real world sex, user generated content on a social platform, rather than going onto a porn site and watching very unrealistic.
We are the Facebook of social sex.
Nice, I like that. So just 2009, where have I gone? You nearly saw what was going on down there then.
No, and by the way, Emma, I should just tell everyone listening that I was very entertained by your Freudian slip earlier today when you tweeted out, I'm going to be talking to Cindy Gallop tonight on Instagram Live, no holds barred.
I know.
Yep, no, absolutely true. No holds barred and no holes barred either.
I know. I'm not. Do you know what? I've never. English language was the one subject that I was worst at school. So an E or a D on the end. I'm like, whatever. But yeah, no, I think it's relevant, isn't it? No holes barred. But where? So talk us through how did it happen?
I date younger men. They tend to be men in their 20s, and 12 or 13 years ago, I began realizing through dating younger men that I was encountering what happens when today's total freedom of access to hardcore porn online meets our society's equally total reluctance to talk openly and honestly about sex. When those two factors converge, porn becomes sex education by default in not a good way. And so I found myself encountering a number of sexual behavioral memes in bed. I went, whoa, I know where that behavior is coming from. I thought, gosh, if I'm experiencing this, other people must be as well. I didn't know that because 12, 13 years ago, nobody was talking about this. No one was writing about it. And as a naturally action-oriented person, I went, I want to do something about this. So 11 years ago now, I put up on no money a tiny clunky website at makelovenotporn.com that in its original iteration was just words. It was porn world versus real world. Here's what happens in the porn world. Here's what really happens in the real world. I launched at TED in 2009. I became the only TED speaker to say the words, "come on my face," on the TED stage.
You did it 5 times. 6 times, yeah, 6 times.
And the talk went viral as a result, and it drove this extraordinary global response to my tiny website that I had never anticipated. Thousands of people wrote to me from every country in the world, young and old, male and female, straight and gay. And so I felt, I mean, they poured their hearts out. And so I felt, I realized I've uncovered a huge global social issue. I now had a personal responsibility. I had to take Make Love Not Porn forwards in a way that would make it much more far-reaching, helpful and effective. And I also saw an opportunity to do what I believe in very strongly, which is the future of business is doing good and making money simultaneously. And so I saw an opportunity for a big business solution to this huge untapped global need. And I use the word big advisedly, Emma, because even then, 11 years ago at concept stage, I knew if I wanted to counter the global impact of porn as default sex ed, I would have to come up with something that at least had the potential one day to be just as mass, just as mainstream, and just as all-pervasive in our society as porn currently is. So thinking big right from the get-go. And so that was when I turned Make Love Not Porn into the world's first and only user-generated, human-curated, very important, I'll come back to that, social sex video sharing platform. And so, as I said, we are what Facebook would be if Facebook allowed you to socially, sexually self-express, which it sadly doesn't. Yeah. We are socializing and normalizing sex, making it easier for everybody to talk about openly and honestly, to promote consent, communication, good sexual values, and good sexual behavior. And so we call ourselves the social sex revolution. The revolution part is not the sex, it's the social.
It's the social, because that's the thing, isn't it? And it's sort of something, well, we've had this kind. What's weird is last time we saw each other was that first week in March in New York, and it's as if time has stood still.
Oh my God. Yeah,
literally feels like nothing has happened because I haven't been out. I'm locked, you know what I mean? And the last time I saw you was pretty much the last time I went anywhere. But it was like the mainstreaming the sex conversation, and we had this conversation. And I say that people sit around tables and they talk about what workout videos they're into, or they've seen this new fitness trend, or they've read about this new diet, and it should be as easy as that. I've read about this new sex position, and
exactly. And so Emma, people regularly say to me, Cindy, I love Make Love Not Porn. Love the mission, pro-sex, pro-porn, pro-knowing the difference. They say, so I've signed up to Make Love Not Porn. I've subscribed, so I'm supporting you that way. If I were an investor, if I had a ton of money, I'd give it to you. I don't. And they say, so how else can I support you? And so I ask everybody who asks that question to do a micro action, because I explain, my God, there's thunder in the background, by the way. So I explain that there's one very simple thing you can do to support our mission of Make Love Not Porn, and that is talk about sex every single day. And when I say that, I don't mean go out there and talk about sex. What I mean is, as you go about your daily life and your work, when you have a conversation where it would be completely natural, if we weren't so fucked up about it, to talk about sex, do that. And the example I give is, so, on Facebook, like all of us, I have a ton of friends who are regularly, either somebody's having a birthday celebration, lovely dinner, whatever, or somebody is on vacation somewhere, gorgeous holiday. And we're all commenting, people are going, happy birthday, or, wow, that looks fabulous, great vacation. And so I will make a point deliberately. I will comment on the birthday party celebration post. I will go, happy birthday, hope you had great birthday sex.
Yeah, I do that, and I get my mum normally doing capital letters, Emma.
and on the photo of the lovely holiday resort or whatever, I will say, gorgeous speech, hope you had great sex on it, because they are. And the thing is that when you do that, you're just being completely open and normal and natural. Our friends go, oh, ha, Cindy, yes, we did. and that's how you socialize sex. Because we are all dying to be able to talk about sex without the shame and the guilt and the embarrassment. And when anybody does, the floodgates open.
Oh, big time.
It's such a relief to be able to normalize that conversation.
Isn't it? Because you get so many people that they stop themselves, or they say, oh, I was going to put this comment, but I deleted it because I was worried about, and I just say, just put it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Or can you write something so that people know it's a joke? I'm like, it's not a joke. So no, I'm not going to write a comment on it.
Yeah, no, I mean, I did a podcast interview last week with Lolita Taub, who is a wonderful VC. And so she tweeted beforehand on Twitter, she said, I'm going to be interviewing Cindy, Make Love Not Porn, sex tech. What questions would you like me to ask her? And so a bunch of people tweeted at her questions. But when she was doing the interview, she said to me, Cindy, I got so many private DMs on Twitter with questions people want to ask, but they did not want to tweet them publicly so that other people could see they were, and that's exactly the kind of thing that Make Love Not Porn as the social sex revolution is out to break down.
Yeah, because it is normal, isn't it? You know what I mean? It's like, it's sex.
Yeah. Well, one of my favorite quotes about this, Emma, was years ago, I was booked to do the opening interview session at an LA entertainment conference with Larry Flynt, the founder of Hustler. And so I prepared a whole list of questions to ask Larry, and we were in the green room before the event, and I was running through my questions. And one of the things I was going to ask Larry Flynt was, Larry, you pioneered in an industry where nobody is ever encouraged to pioneer. And I was going to go on and say to him, what would you say to entrepreneurs today to encourage them to do the same thing? But Larry Flynt stopped me. He interrupted me and he said, I never thought of myself as a pioneer because I just didn't think I was doing anything wrong. I bloody love that response. And that is what I encourage everybody who works in any sex-related area and generally, talk about sex because you're not doing anything wrong.
Yeah, but it's the same, isn't it? In well, especially kind of in a lot of industries, very male industries. And you get that kind of, our first question is like, how is it being a woman? And, how do you feel being a, woman in the industry? And obviously with us, it's sex, and people say it's, what was it like starting? And was it difficult being a woman? And I always say, I never got the memo. Never got the, you know what I mean? I, like you, believed in something, you see something, you want to fix it, and you just do it. And exactly that. You just don't get the memo.
No, and in fact, it's enormously important that is absolutely the attitude that we all bring, because the single most important piece of advice that I have to give all the time to other sex tech entrepreneurs is take yourself out of the shadows. And what I mean by take yourself out of the shadows is when you work in any area to do with sex, people unconsciously internalize, often without even realizing they're doing it, society's disapproval of what you're doing in a way that then negatively impacts your ability to do the kind of business you want. So, an example is many years ago, a young woman came to me with a sex tech startup. And there are many of these now, obviously, but at the time she wanted to redesign sex toys, make them cool, sell them online. So she's talking me through her startup and she goes, and the thing is, Cindy, people are really embarrassed to be seen buying sex toys. So we're going to package them discreetly like this. We're going to send them out. And I went, hold it right there. You need to go right back to the beginning and reconcept your startup from the ground up. Because you need not to say to me, people are embarrassed to be seen buying sex toys. You need to say to me, we're going to make people not embarrassed to be seen buying sex toys. When you concept and design a venture around existing societal bias and prejudice, all you do is reinforce it. I refuse to bow to existing bias and prejudice. I'm out to change it. And so I encourage everybody to have the same attitude. Take yourself out of the shadows.
And it's the same because someone just done, and actually a total one of my heroes, who's in there now. Hi, Sarah. Who's the CEO of Inspired Mind, so the big AI global setup. And it's the same for women, well, women in all industries, but I mean, any woman in tech is, sex is one thing, but tech in general is, is that.
Oh, yeah.
It's exactly the same concept, isn't it?
Yep, no, and in fact, let me say this to your audience, because, we are absolutely not seeing change happen for women in any industry. And the reason we aren't is because at the top of every industry is a closed loop of white guys talking to white guys about other white guys. Those white guys are sitting very pretty. They've got their huge salaries, gigantic bonuses, big pools of stock options, lavish expense accounts. Why on earth would they ever want to rock the boat? Oh, they have to talk diversity. They have to have diversity initiatives. They have to appoint a chief diversity officer. They have to say the word diversity a lot, especially in public. Secretly, deep down inside, they don't want to change a thing because the system is working just fine for them as it currently is. It's like the old joke about the light bulb. How many therapists does it take to change a light bulb? Only one, but the light bulb has to really want to change. And in every industry, the light bulb does not really want to change. That is the problem. And that is why, A, we have to start our own industry. And by the way, this is what I say to every female founder and every founder who is other: start your own industry. And when I say that, I mean start your own business. But I say it like that because when you start your own business, you are starting the industry that we would all rather be working in. And then the other thing I say is, and, you know, I shared this, I spoke at InspireFest in Dublin a number of years ago. InspireFest was set up to counterpoint Web Summit, because Web Summit is white male dominated. And so InspireFest is utterly diverse, you know, tons of female speakers. And I spoke as one of the last keynotes at the inaugural InspireFest. And, you know, so I came out on stage at the end of the conference and I said, you know, for the past 2 days, we've had many panels and speakers talking about the challenges that we all face building our businesses, female founders, Black of color. I said, you have no idea how magically all of those challenges, all of those obstacles will disappear, melt away like snow in the sunlight, the moment we prove we can make an absolute goddamn fucking shit ton of money. that eradicates all of those barriers immediately. And so one of us has to unashamedly set out to make an absolute goddamn fucking shit ton of money, because that is what gets us taken notice of. And that is what gets the white male world going, fuck me, we better stop being like them.
Yeah, because you know what? Someone actually said to me yesterday, because I think, to be honest, you might top me on the abusive, assertive post on LinkedIn, to be honest. You always make me feel better that I'm being a bit soft. But someone actually said to me yesterday, you've got to be a bit careful, you know, using stale pale male and being anti, you know, men. And I'm like, I've never been anti-men in any shape or form. And I've said, I will poke the hornet's nest and throw a frigging nuclear bomb into the middle of it and see what comes out. But it will never be a personal attack against men. I love men. KK's always included men. It's about making awkward conversation and then creating an awkwardness that makes everyone look into themselves and go, a bit like the BLM movement. As a white posh bird, there was a lot of awkwardness in that, and me reading stuff and really thinking, fuck, what have I done or assumed or had an unconscious kind of bias that's just there after 10 years of boarding school? You know what I mean? It makes you feel awkward. And you feel there's a difference between feeling shame and being shamed. And I think and I just said that to her, so that's the post I put up, is to evoke that and, you know, that feeling of a bit shame in the truck, we need to change it, rather than, fuck you, men.
No, exactly. And then act on it. Because any man who goes, oh, you're being anti-man, is going, I want to preserve the white male status quo. You know, as the saying goes, when you are used to privilege, equality feels like oppression. And that's a really bad place for those men who critique you on that basis to be coming from. So fuck that. Yeah,
no, exactly. And what on with the Make Love Not Porn site and porn in general,
we're not porn. We're not porn. We're social sex. Remember that.
No, exactly. But that's the thing. It's what you're doing is replace. Well, I have a big problem with porn in that it's not realistic, and I think sex ed should include porn and you know the social sex.
What I would just say, Emma, because you know I've been emphasizing for 11 years, the issue isn't porn. The issue is that we don't talk about sex in the real world. If we did, people would then be able to bring a real world mindset to the viewing of what is performative produced entertainment. And so, you know, what I find unfortunate is that many issues are laid at porn's door that should be laid at society's. It is not porn's job to educate, it's society's. And so what Make Love Not Porn does that is utterly unique is, if porn is the Hollywood movie, we're the real world documentary. But I want to highlight for your listeners, for our viewers, I want to contextualize what I'm doing in the broader tech landscape, because there's a very fundamental truth here. The young white male founders of the giant tech platforms that dominate our lives today are not the primary targets, online and offline, of harassment, abuse, racism, sexual assault, violence, rape, revenge porn. Therefore, they do not, and they did not, proactively design for any of those things. Those of us who are most at risk every single day, women, Black people, people of color, LGBTQ, the disabled, we design safe spaces and safe experiences. I and my team spent literally years concepting and designing Make Love Not Porn before we ever built it, because we knew if we were going to invite people to do something they've never done before, socially share their real world sex, we had to think through every possible ramification of that to create a completely safe and trustworthy space. As a result, not only do we operate unlike anybody else in the adult sphere, we operate unlike anybody else on the internet, period. And at the heart of that is, I designed Make Love Not Porn around something nobody else does, but everybody else should, which is human curation. Our curators watch every single video submitted to Make Love Not Porn from beginning to end. We don't publish it unless it's real. Our curators curate every single post on what we call Make Love Not Porn Social, which is the ability on your profile at Make Love Not Porn. You can post any photo, art, illustration, text, as safe for work or not safe for work as you like, but we review every single post and approve it before we publish it. We review every single comment on every single video before we publish it. We can therefore vouch for every single piece of content on our platform, and that is why Make Love Not Porn is a platform where you will find nothing but love. We celebrate nothing but love, showcase nothing but love. We have a platform that is all about love. Yes, it can be done on the internet today when it is designed and built through the female lens, and operates in a way that every other giant tech platform should have from the get-go.
Yeah, and it's real, and it's I don't know if you've read it, the book Invisible Women.
Oh yeah.
And it's the world, everything online, offline, has been designed by men for men, from everything, pharma, tech, everything, and it's exactly that.
And the ridiculous thing, Emma, is that, as I said, those of us at risk every day design safe spaces and safe experiences. Men would be so much happier, living in our spaces. And so there's a very simple answer to everyone kind of throwing up their hands about the hate and the bias and the racism running rampant on Facebook and other social platforms. Fund us. Fund female founders. Fund Black founders. Fund of-color founders. Fund disabled founders. Fund LGBTQ founders. Because we design the spaces and the experiences that will transform the lives of humanity. But the appalling ridiculous scenario is that nobody's putting money behind them.
Yeah, it's 1.9% of VC money goes to female founders.
Here in the US, it's 2.8% of all venture funding goes to female founder ventures, and only 0.2% of that goes to Black female founders. It's out bloody rageous.
But you're putting together a fund, aren't you? You've got a project.
I'm very open about the fact that I decided to start a sex tech fund as an act of desperation, as a last resort. Nobody would fund Make Love Not Porn. I went, okay, in order to get my own startup funded, I'm going to have to get the entire category funded. And so, because I couldn't raise $2 million to scale Make Love Not Porn, I went, seemingly counterintuitively, I'm going to raise $200 million to start the world's first and only sex tech fund. Because if no one else is going to, then I will. And I began working on that, but I then raised the money I needed for Make Love Not Porn from our original angel investor, had to focus on that. I am now trying to raise more funding for Make Love Not Porn to be able to hire a full-time team and be able to go back and raise my sex tech fund. And the reason I have to raise more funding, and I know you can really sympathize with this, Emma, is, as a sex tech startup, we have two fundamental growth inhibitors. Number one is infrastructure. because every single piece of business infrastructure carries the clause no adult content.
Yeah.
And number two is the inability to advertise, which you're
Yeah.
also familiar with. Both of those barriers can be overcome with funding. When VCs give us the same tens of millions of dollars they fling at white bro founders with utterly trivial apps and games, we can totally overcome those barriers, but we need money to overcome them.
Yeah, no, I was reading last week that the big unicorn, Row, I think it's called. Is it Row? Who, you know, they were allowed on Facebook. Yeah, they were allowed on Facebook, New York subways. It's a male erectile dysfunction product.
So in 2017, you know, all male founding team sets up platform to deliver erectile dysfunction solutions to men. White male VCs lavish. I think they raised $88 million in their first.
You know, if they helped them get a hard on for like 5 hours, then we're in.
And when you have that much money, you bet Facebook lets you advertise. You bet the New York subway lets you advertise all over it. So you can grow your business because, as you know, our businesses are so responsive to advertising. It's just we never get to advertise. You know, and so 3 years later, Row is now a goddamn unicorn. It's just raised another round of funding. It's you know, it's valued at over $1 billion in 3 years. That's what you and I and all our fellow female sex tech founders could be doing if we had access to the same level of funding.
I know, because there's more. I don't know if you find that there's more. Why do you think there's more within the sex tech industry? There's actually more female founders within. It's an industry that's literally dominated by female founders.
Because we are finally owning our sexuality, and we are seeing the unique ways that we can leverage that in a business context, because we get the enormous market that is women's needs, wants, and desires, historically deemed too embarrassing, shameful, taboo to address in business. And as I always say, Emma, when you tap that huge primary market, you also tap a huge secondary market of extremely happy men.
Yeah, I always say that it's a win-win. If you've got a secure, happy female, you're going to basically have a female that wants to explore their sexuality and try new things, and that's a happy man.
Yeah, and, you know, and as I've been saying to men for literally decades, men, we live in a world where the default setting is always male. Men, you have no idea how much happier you would be living in a world that was 50-50 equally designed by all of us.
Have you seen, so it's been like 11 years of doing MakeLove.com. Is it 2013 that the full platform has been up? Have you, and obviously, so you've had it as like Me Too's happened and, you know, this explosion in women's sexuality and LGBT. Have you noticed, I'd like to change the trends on the platform from who's submitting and the type of sex, and just, has there been anything that sort of has stood out?
Well, so what's really interesting, and by the way, you know, I designed Make Love Not Porn to be the Kinsey of today. Real world, real time, real life human sexual behavior, captured and aggregated in a way that nobody else is doing, in an area that is notoriously research and data free, because for all the reasons we struggle, nobody's funding the common core of sex. And in the area of research and data where there is the widest possible gap between what people say and what people actually do. And at Make Love Not Porn, we're all about what people do. And so, you know, what is especially interesting? Two things. The first is that, you know, 11 years of Make Love Not Porn and 8 years of Make Love Not Porn.tv have demonstrated that as an utterly unique venture, we have an utterly unique capability. We have the power to change people's sexual attitudes and behavior for the better. That's extraordinary. And I'm blown away every day by the messages we get from our members, both by how well Make Love Not Porn designs everything I intended it to do, and how well it delivers on things that I never designed it to do in the first place. So, you know, we hear all the time from couples saying, you saved our marriage, you saved our relationship. You know, married, hadn't had sex in years. Because we're social sex, it's okay for one half to say to the other, oh, I came across this thing, Make Love Not Porn, in a magazine. Or, you know, why don't we check it out together? And then they go, kaboom, best sex since our wedding night. You know, and again, because we're normalizing sex, we are the external prompt you need to have an open, you know, conversation about your own sex life. Couples say, you know, watching your videos and then talking about them, you know, it felt as normal as watching something on Netflix and then discussing it. You know, and then you segue into your, you know, own conversation. But we also hear from, survivors of rape, sexual abuse, sexual assault, and we hear from female and male survivors who tell us that Make Love Not Porn helped them reclaim their bodies. We help them reclaim their sexuality. We hear from cancer survivors. You know, a woman wrote to us, she was a cancer survivor, had a mastectomy. She said she'd been feeling really shitty about her body, but no longer, because, you know, she'd found Make Love Not Porn. We celebrate real world everything, real world bodies, real world penis size. You know, she said, you know, you are making me feel so much better about myself. You know, we have a Make Love Not Porn baby. One couple wrote to us and said, you know, we've been trying for a kid for ages. Just came back from the doctor. The scan proved what we suspected. Our child was conceived the night that we watched this sticker video on Make Love Not Porn.
Oh, hilarious.
They said, we're not going to say we couldn't have done it without you, but you really helped.
Yeah.
Isn't that fantastic?
It's amazing, because also they, because that's one of the, you know, people say, and, you know, we've had therapists on, psychologists on here, on, you know, how to communicate and have conversations and bring up, especially in lockdown, how do you bring up, if you've been together like sort of, you know, beyond 5 years, 10 years, and you've never had the confidence to say what you want, how would you go about bringing it up? And one of the things everyone says is suggest, why don't we watch a porn film? But actually, and you can see how that would work, but actually watching real life sex, because actually watching porn, you can, as a woman, you can feel a little bit intimidated and think, well, I don't make those noises, and my bits down there definitely don't look like that, and I don't come through penetrative sex, so I don't really feel good watching.
No, exactly. So, you know, we at Make Love Not Porn, we have so many social benefits. So, for example, social sex is enormously reassuring because, you know, as I said, we celebrate real world everything. Real world bodies, real world hair, real world penis size, real world breast size. You can talk
real noises.
You can talk body positivity all you like. You can preach self-love till you're blue in the face. Nothing makes you feel great about your own body like watching people who are nobody's idea of aspirational body types getting turned on by each other, desiring each other, having a bloody amazing time in bed. Our mantra is everybody is beautiful when they're having real world sex, and they really are. And it's really important people see that, because do you remember last summer when Love Island announced its new season?
I fucking hate Love Island.
And it got a ton of critiques about the fact that the cast was very non-diverse, both in terms of ethnicity, but also in terms of body diversity. Yeah. And the producer of Love Island made a very big mistake, and when asked about this, said something along the lines of, you know, oh, well, we have to cast people that people find attractive. The entire internet came down his head, including me. And so, so I tweeted at him, and in fact, the Daily Mail covered this and put my tweet in the piece. But I tweeted him and I said, walk through any park in any city in the summer and look at the couple sitting on the grass, walking hand in hand, cuddling, and you will see exactly what people find incredibly attractive in the real world. And so that's what we celebrate on Make Love Not Porn. And we also celebrate real world accidents, awkwardness, messiness, because if you only have ever learned about sex from porn, porn teaches you that sex is a performance. Yeah. Nothing can go wrong. Oh my God, it did. How excruciatingly embarrassing. I can speak up this thing, whatever. Whereas we go, if you can't laugh at yourselves in bed, when can you? Yeah. And in our videos, ridiculous things happen because this is.
I know. Do you know, we had we've been doing these virtual house parties every weekend and workshops, and the very first one we had to see how it went, and the first couple that got going on it, honestly, the loudest fart happened. Literally.
Fantastic.
I actually thought, because I was coming in and out to see how it went, I actually thought it was one of our staff off our head, and no, and it wasn't. It was, and they just carried on and laughed. And the next day we were like, well, do you know what? That's real sex. You know what I mean? How many times has that happened to most people? The farting.
No, exactly. And also, by the way, Salam, I'm delighted you're on here. I just saw your question. So Make Love Not Porn exists to reflect the full spectrum of glorious human sexuality. So we are totally diverse. You know, and by the way, everybody who is watching this, please consider becoming a Make Love Not Porn star. But, you know, a category that we've been very keen to build that Suleiman has absolutely been helping us with is Make Disabled Love Not Porn.
Definitely.
And that's important for a couple of reasons, actually. A, because we absolutely want disabled representation on Make Love Not Porn, because there is this horrific syndrome where people don't think disabled people are entitled to a sex life. Or
they don't think they can. Look at a wheelchair and people go, oh, well, they obviously can't have sex. It's like, no.
But also because being able to showcase and celebrate Make Disabled Love Not Porn would enormously benefit able-bodied people. Yeah. Because to make disabled love not porn, and bear in mind, we're talking about the full spectrum of disability. Not all disabilities are visible, you know. But to make disabled love not porn, whatever your disability, requires tremendous empathy, sensitivity, management, ensuring of comfort, all things able-bodied people could really benefit from watching and then emulating themselves in the way that they conduct their sex lives. And so I'm happy to say that the wonderful Heather Morrison and Andrew Gerzer, who are a brother and sister team who have been working on launching the very first ever range of sex toys for disabled people. They're called Handy. And these are basically sex toys you can operate hands-free. And as always, when you design a fully accessible world, you make it so much better for all of us. I can't wait for hands-free sex toys because, you know, I get cramp holding my vibrator in exactly the right position. Yeah. You know, and anyway, so we are partnering because we would love them to demonstrate Handy. You know, one of the reasons I concepted Make Love Not Porn was the single biggest use case for YouTube is how-to videos. Yeah. It far outstrips their second biggest use case, which is entertainment. First and foremost, people go to YouTube for how-to videos on anything and everything. I designed Make Love Not Porn to be the go-to global hub for how-to videos on anything and everything to do with real-world sex. And what that means is that we offer the opportunity for product demonstration the way a ton of products never get to be demonstrated but should. And so with Heather and Andrew, we're the opportunity for handy demonstrations, but they are also helping us with outreach to the disabled community to call for more Make Disabled Love Not Porn videos and provide help and advice on how, when you are disabled, you film yourself solo or you and your partner or partners, you know, to be able to absolutely contribute to our platform.
And on the platform at the moment, have you got it, you know, when you go on I know it's not a porn site, but do with sex, have you got it into categories? Do you have a disabled part already?
So we, everything we do at Make Love Not Porn has only one goal in mind, which is to help make it easier for everybody in the world to talk about sex openly and honestly. So because we don't do that currently, we do not have a socially acceptable vocabulary with which to do so. The language of porn has rushed in to fill that gap, and that is not good for a number of reasons, not least of which is that, as you would expect in a male-dominated industry, the language of porn is predominantly male-generated. So the person who coined the term finger blasting didn't have a vagina. Because if you have a vagina and you hear finger blasting, you want to cross your leg. The person who coined the term getting her ass railed never got his ass railed. Yeah. Pounding, banging,
smash the back doors in,
destroying, all terms created by people who do not possess the soft internal tissue to which those things are being done. Yeah. So on Make Love Not Porn, we are building a new vocabulary for real world sex. We tag our videos completely differently to the usual porn drop-down menus. We tag them with terms like juicy, succulent. Our tag for oral is downtown. Our tag for anal is deliberately derived from the recipient's experience of anal. We tag our anal sex videos, ow, 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 hey now. And we do that because we want you to take this language and use it beyond our platform in the real world. Because this is language you can use to, to talk about sex in public without worrying about being overheard in the bar, the coffee shop, without feeling embarrassed about what's coming out of your mouth. And it's language you can use to talk about what you want to do in bed in a celebratory, positive, and gender equal way.
It's very harsh, isn't it? It's a very hard language that we use when it comes to sex. It's very black and white and very hard.
Yeah, no, and it doesn't exist. There is no socially acceptable range of expressions that we're all able to use. And so we are using our unique tags at Make Love Not Porn to reshape the way people think about sex. Because, you know, I get called up, and I'm sure you do too, all the time, where a journalist is going, so Cindy, I'm writing a story about how porn addiction causes erectile dysfunction in young men. And I will go, no, it doesn't. And they go, what? And I explain that, you know, porn is entirely dick-centric. You know, it convinces men that it's all about how big it is, how hard it is. You know, in the real world, men are frequently not erect or semi-erect. And now because all they've seen is porn, they think, oh my God, there's something wrong with me. And so at Make Love Not Porn, we have a special tag for those real world sex videos where the man is not erect or semi-erect. And that tag is derived from the world of ice cream. We call those videos soft serve because soft serve are yummy and delicious.
Yeah, exactly. I went out with a guy actually who couldn't get it up, and after about 6 weeks, he got really angry with me and said, maybe my penis just needs a less opinionated woman. I went, wicked.
Oh my God.
You go find that. You go find that. That's fine.
For crying out loud. You know, and again, I mean, there's nothing wrong with not being able to get it up. It happens to everybody.
Yeah.
You know, again, when we normalize that, he won't feel the shame and the urge to take it out on you, which is utterly ridiculous.
Yeah. No. And if you, how did you, because obviously, you know, when they're different, it's real sex and real couples having sex. And obviously with KK, there's a lot of real sex and it's amazing, but it's behind closed doors. How do you get it?
Right, sorry to interrupt, Emma, but we are very semantically precise at Make Love Not Porn. We don't call ourselves real sex because porn is real sex.
Yeah.
Porn is people having sex for real. We are real world sex.
Well, real world. I miss out the world.
Yeah. We reflect the way we all have sex in the real world. So we are real world sex. Yeah. Sorry, what was it?
So sorry on that. It's sort of, you know, it's like we go 15 years, and even getting people to, you know, initially to come to events and have real world sex. And it's amazing that, and I totally get it, that having seen it in action for 15 years, that realness about it, and you feel like you're looking at the most intimate love, you know, that there is, and everything, and from the art, the before, the after, the togetherness, they're just everything. But that's behind closed doors, and obviously we've got, it's massive security, and there's no cameras. And how did you, when you launched, how do you go about getting the content and getting people to be comfortable going, there it is, there's my fanny fart?
Yep. No, absolutely. Yeah. So we absolutely had to seed Make Love Not Porn with content pre-launch. And so I spent a year, as did my curator at the time, Sarah, asking my entire network and complete strangers, will you film yourselves having real world sex for us? So every time I had a conversation about Make Love Not Porn, I would always end it with the question, so would you be interested in contributing content? And I would always ask this question, regardless of whether I personally thought the person I was talking to would or wouldn't, which is how I found out that 99.9% of the time, the answer is yes. To the extent that I literally had to force my facial features to stay immobile because I want to go, what? You know, some of the people who responded. The desire to do this lies a lot closer to the surface in many more people than you would ever have thought. And given a reason, given our social values and our social mission, people jump at the chance. And, you know, what is really interesting that we've learned, because we're a social experiment, you know, we put this platform out there. You know, we don't dictate what real world sex is. You, the world, your community show us. We're learning every day. Our Make Love Not Porn stars tell us that socially sharing their real world sex has been as transformative for them and their relationships as socially sharing everything else has been for the world.
Oh, where's she gone?
So we have many solo videos. Okay, we have solo Make Love Not Porn stars who have, you know, film themselves masturbating. And by the way, often for the first time ever, because many of our Make Love Not Porn stars had never, ever filmed themselves doing anything sexual before. They're doing it for us because they believe in our social mission. So, you know, they've filmed themselves in this incredibly intimate act. They've uploaded it to Make Love Not Porn for complete strangers to watch. They tell us that doing that made them love themselves more.
Oh, where's she going? She's buffering with blowjob lips. There you are.
It transformed their relationship. Sorry. Yep. So, because when you decide to film yourselves having sex, you have to talk about it. When you talk about it, doesn't matter how long you've been together, the conversation goes places it's never ever gone before. Couples write to us and say, we thought we were open. Doing this just took it to a whole new level.
Yeah. So what would you advise to people, not necessarily give the videos to you, but the effect of just filming yourself, having sex, or filming yourself masturbating? Would you just say, right, a first step is just film it and watch it together and see and just discuss it and
but absolutely. So this is what we say because people write to us and go, ooh, you know, thinking of becoming a Make Love Not Porn star, a bit nervous. So we go, tell you what, just start filming yourself or yourselves, whether it's solo, partnered, you know, no obligation. You may never want to share it with us, but just doing that can be a revelation. You know, as I said, you know, for, you know, someone who's doing that on their own, it really changes the way you feel about yourself and your body and your sexuality. For couples, you know, I remember one woman, this is actually when we were over in Brazil, where we get a lot of traffic. And, you know, she said to me, because we were working on a project to help try and launch Make Love Porn Brazil together. And she said to me the next day, she said, you know, I went home last night and I said to my husband, you know, I've been working on this thing, Make Love Not Porn, you know, why don't we just film ourselves? So they filmed themselves. And she said to me that the revelation for, I mean, she wasn't going to submit it, she wasn't there, but she said the revelation for both of them was how hot it was. Because they kind of thought, well, I mean, they've married for quite a while, you know, had kids, you know, obviously been having sex for years. She said, actually watching themselves was a revelation. They absolutely loved it. And, you know, another couple, we came across them when the husband commented and recommended us on Reddit. And I contacted him, and then they wrote a wonderful blog post for us where they've been married for 30 years. They've been members of Make Love Not Porn for 3 years. They love our videos. And so our videos inspired them to start filming themselves, and they do it just for themselves. But it's now become a really key part of their sex life because you learn so much about yourselves, and it's so much fun. And so, yeah, absolutely. We say to people, you know, no obligation, start filming yourselves, and ultimately, if you'd love to share it with us, we'd love to see it. Sorry, Emma, I just remembered a really important thing for your viewers. Mustn't forget our revenue sharing business model. Make money, because so at Make Love Not Porn, for people who don't know, our members pay to subscribe, rent and stream social sex videos, and half that income goes to our contributors, our Make Love Not Porn staff. And I deliberately designed that business model 11 years ago to democratize access to income. So when we launched MakeLoveNotPorn.tv 8 years ago, I wrote a blog post introducing our business model, and I titled it, How Make Love Not Porn Can Help the Global Economy. And I began it by saying, you know, all those little scam ads that pop up on the internet all the time going, make $2,000 a week working from home. Well, now you can. Yeah. And, you know, the whole point is that, well, we're a very long way off this, but at scale, we want to get to the kind of scale where one day your Make Love Not Porn video could get 1 million rentals at $5 per rental. We give you half that income. Now, long way to go, but that's a game plan. But what is wonderful, Emma, is that we are hearing through the pandemic from our Make Love Not Porn stars, and like everybody else, people have lost their jobs, can't find work. They are telling us that our monthly payouts are supporting them through the pandemic. You know, giving them peace of mind. You know, one Make Love Not Porn star said, I never thought I'd be able to live on this income alone, but I am, and it's really de-stressed me. I mean, our highest, again, you know, we're bootstrapping, we're struggling, no funding, etc. But our highest monthly payout last month in July to a Make Love Not Porn star was $2,000.
Wow! So you rent a film for what, $5, and they'll get $2.50.
So you can rent videos a la carte. So that's $5 a video, $2.50 to the Make Love Not Porn star, $2.50 to us. Then we have 3 subscription levels: $10 a month, $30 a month, $50 a month. With the $10 a month subscription, that's for 5 videos. So that's $2 each, $1 us, $1 the Make Love Not Porn star, and the others are all $1 video, 50 cents each. So it's a straight 50-50 split down the middle.
I think you might end up with a whole load of Killing Kittens members coming your way going, oh, hang on a minute.
Please, guys, ship it in.
Because I know what some of them are like, and literally, yeah.
Excellent. Bring it on.
And I'm sorry, I've just noticed what the time is, and Instagram cut us off, right, in like 9 minutes. Have you, during the pandemic, have you noticed more traffic? Have you noticed more couples or messages and using it? Like a lot of people are now communicating and exploring their relationships because you're locked in together and you haven't got anything else to do.
So the pandemic is our time, Emma, absolutely. Even without having the funding to do paid for promotional marketing, we have seen an increase in traffic, revenue, and submissions because absolutely everyone is at home in lockdown globally, or going back into lockdown, unfortunately. The world is more in need right now of love, intimacy, and human connection than ever before. People have plenty of time on their hands in lockdown to become Make Love Not Porn stars. As I said, our business model is very appealing when people are financially challenged, but also because, Emma, the pandemic is proving the wrongness of what everyone had been saying up until now, which is that for years, everyone's been going, the future's digital. It's all about technology, VR, AR. Boy, oh boy, has the pandemic ever proven that what we are all desperate for on the other side of this is IRL, physical touch,
big
love,
time,
human connection, sex. Okay. Everything that Make Love Not Porn celebrates. In interviews, people have said to me, "So Cindy, how have you been adapting to the pandemic?" And I've gone, "Not at all. The pandemic is amazing proof of concept for us."
Yeah.
Because what I knew 11 years ago, people wanted and will always want. The pandemic has just reinforced even more. And by the way, the good news for all of us is that our observation of Make Love Not Porn is that precisely because, as you said, Emma, everyone's at home, that is breaking down societal barriers around sex. We are much more prepared to be open about what we do at home. We're all living in much closer quarters, whether it's, with roommates or families on top of each other. Parents have to be more open about teenage sexuality and expressions of it, and we observe a willingness to be much more open and healthier about sex than ever before. And I think that's one very good thing the pandemic is driving. The other good thing is, again, what Make Love Not Porn is all about, to promote good sexual values and good sexual behavior. Because, there are time people like me, I'm single, I'm in lockdown on my own, I have no idea when I'm ever going to have sex again, which, by the way, is pretty bloody depressing. As and when I do, there's a whole dialogue that has to be had around, we're going to have to be articulate and open about our sexual and social values, because I'm only going to have sex with somebody where, I know they've been as safe as I have. I mean, I've left my apartment once a week for the past 5 months for groceries. That's it. They're going to have to be very open conversations and dialogues. We're going to have to decide who we trust, whose sexual values we believe in, and I believe that all of that is driving better, healthier attitudes towards and behavior around all of this in a way that will be enormously beneficial for all of us.
Yeah, it's communicating, and it's open and it's honest, and there's no shame, and this is who we are. And that's where actually dating's been full of bullshit, and something like over 60% of people have admitted lying on dates and dating sites. It's like now people are like, well, what's the point on that? Plus, plus my 5-year-old and 3-year-old had learnt the word vagina in lockdown.
Delighted to hear it.
You're welcome, school, when they go back. That's going to backfire on me, I think. But anyway, we're nearly at 10, so I'm going to say thank you so much. That was epic, and we could have carried on for hours and hours.
Always a joy. Everybody listening and watching, please go to makelovenotporn.tv, sign up, subscribe, become a Make Love Not Porn star. And if you come across any open-minded investors, it's cindy@makelovenotporn.com. Yeah,
exactly. Send them our way first.
Absolutely.
Cool. Right then. Well, I will see you. I will see you on the other side.
Huge
Bye.
fun. Take care.
Thank you. Bye. She's epic. epic on all fronts. Just women in general, not just sex, but anything to do with working women. But we'll be back next Wednesday with Bryony Coles, who's another. She's changing the face of sex tech in the world. But we're on Australian time, so that's going to be a lunchtime one. So a little bit weird. I won't have my wine. I'll have my coffee. But anyway, I will see you guys soon, and check out all our workshops and events because they're all still going. Hell for leather. See you guys later. Bye.